Hello and welcome. We're going to be taking a look at community builds from some extremely complex, very unique builds to some much more simple early game designs. Be a bit of everything, but some truly impressive builds. You get anything out of this, consider liking and subscribing. Goes a long way. Let's get into it. This first base is incredible. Now, this is from Jesturr, who has named this beautiful base, symmetrical, gorgeous, very intricately designed. He's called it the Benevolence. The Pride of Benevolence is what he's called it. And you can see here just by looking at it, it uses probably the most little walls that I've seen any kind of build used. It is very, very intricate though. This would have taken a lot of time because it's using some very unusual shape and geometry that you don't usually see. So we'll have a closer look, but it's a very, very pretty base. It's a pretty. Now we'll go into edit and ooh, look at this red. Now, if we go into structure, I'll show you what I mean by barriers. This guy is used, oh my God, he's probably used over 900 barriers to build this base. I don't even know where you'd put 900 barriers, but somehow he's fitted into this base because I've got 386 and I'm missing 610. So I don't know how he did it, but that is crazy. But you have to appreciate the level of detail and just the symmetry of it. Really is an eye-catching, crazy base. And it's kind of like a ship. Maybe there's a ship called the Benevolence. I'm not too sure if this is based on something. There is probably a bit more of a story behind it. Jesturr can always add that info in the comments. But the first striking thing you realize is this very nicely done little platforms that actually level up gradually between the front and the back. You can also note that the autoloader is just being able to somehow, look at that. You don't get any closer than that. That is testing the boundaries of these autoloaders. And it's little things like that. You don't realize how much time it can take just to fiddle around to get something like that working. But he's managed to get an autoloader in there. So while we're having a look, let's just have a quick look at the conveyor belt that's feeding this one, if we can. So he's got quite a nice little conveyor belt here, feeding shells and ammo, because it's also linked to these D-Wizzes up here, the Type 30, which unfortunately I don't have. But the longer you stare at it, the longer you realize how many little bits and pieces and detail. Like, look at these doors here. Like, I wonder where they go to. I'm guessing they go to inside into the actual core of the building. But doesn't that look cool? What a cool way to angle. Really does look like some kind of spaceship that you're going into. But we'll just quickly go through here and see. So you kind of get access to the internal. It doesn't look like you go straight into the base, but still, just how it looks is incredible. Really nice touch. Like, who would have thought to put doors there where you could have just kept scaling up the ramps? One thing that always surprises me is we have a value of 1.5 mil, which is incredible, but still kind of on the low range in terms of lethality and how much damage this would really put out in terms of infinite mode, but still a highly effective base. Like, this is easily going to clear anything in all the different tool modes and the tool modes to come for sure. Like, it shouldn't be any problem. When you get to infinite mode, it will get a bit more challenging, I think, but this base is more for the looks, definitely not for that end game infinite mode. And just look at this. I just realized this. Look how beautifully implemented the core is into the command center, if you will. Let's have a quick look here because this looks very nice and neat. And what a neat way to get to the core tower. So the core tower here is just here, so you'll be able to access it super easily. One does wonder if there is any other access other than jumping up on top of the base. We'll just have a quick whiz around and see if we can see any other entry. Oh, whoa, we got a mech bay here. That's wild. Beautiful two little mini mech bay. You always got to have the mech bay. Brilliant to see that. So if we go under, you would crouch down here, or actually no, you wouldn't even go through this way. So it does look like the only real way to access the core, which I like these builds because there's no real reason to make access to the core super easy or just like on the ground floor. So he's got it up here, very nice, but this looks phenomenal. Love this command center. He's filled it full of quite a few redundancies as well with these stairs, which are going to be duplicated on the other side, just allowing for more structural integrity as well as some good redundancies. But just lots of little things like this, just having the stairs on the ramps somehow, but it just looks superb. A very unique design. We've seen a couple similar to this, but again, the level of detail, even though you're not spending, 3, 4, 5 million, this would have taken such a long time, especially getting all these crazy geometry of this sort of circle almost. But it doesn't look like he's used too many of the overlapping glitches. I could be wrong here. And unfortunately, this new update will remove that glitch. You will have to be prepared for what that means for you. But it looks like for a lot of this, it looks like a legit build. Even if it's not, it doesn't matter because these are the kind of builds that you gotta love. Now we'll just take a quick look into the guts of it and just see how this conveyor belt system works. I'm thinking it's pretty isolated to the individual areas because everything's so spread out. And if we go down here into this, I'll just zoom out so you can see it a bit better. So we'll come down into here, and this looks like this is going to be feeding. Turn the thing off now. Go down here. This is feeding. Gosh, he's really just made it just like, come on. That is just precision. Every single one of these is just able to make it. A mill on either side, and that auto feeder would not work. So props to that. That is some crazy precision build there. Getting that working would have been a pain. And again, same with this one. So yeah, all the conveyor belts and ammo makers are isolated from what it appears. Yeah, which is very good to do in these kind of builds, because having a conveying system that goes all around is just not feasible. Do notice that he's got a few little damage amplifiers here and there. You don't really want too many, but on a base like this, you probably would, because you only have a few hellfires. So that would make more sense to have maybe a few more damage amplifiers, just to balance out the fact that you don't have, 8, 10, 20 hellfires going at the same time. Your damage amplifiers will help and calibrate the lack of hellfires. Now, it is unfortunate we can't get rid of this red. I went to try build some more barriers, but I'm just never going to get enough. But a very potent build. The only thing I'm not so keen on with builds like this, other than the fact that it's built to look symmetrical and awesome, is that your 406s are very limited. Me personally, I like to use my 406s, particularly in the late game of infinite mode. I like to use them on other targets other than just the bosses or Kronos or whatever you want to call them. With this setup, I don't think these guys can shoot any other direction but straight. But for the purpose of this base, that's all you need. It does the job beautifully. 3 is probably, although he does have the damage boosters, so it's probably very acceptable to, when you want to get to, say, when you want to get to wave 30, 40, 50, you probably might need to consider more 406 mils. But other than that, he does have the twin barrels. So that would kind of make up for all that I was just talking about. So I guess he's kind of covered it all. It's really a very well balanced base for every kind of mode. And for the one-time price of 1.5 mil, it's pretty outstanding. But we'll keep moving. This is an absolute beautiful base. Highly recommend checking it out and adding it to your collection. Now, I'm going to guarantee you've never seen a base like this unless you've been on the Discord. But man, oh man, this is a definite meme build. And this is by Bread. The golden pyramid is what he calls it. I need to change the color. I don't think I have the gold one because I don't have the version required. But look at this. What a monstrosity. I love the symmetry of it, but it just like plays on your eyes a bit. It looks freaking unreal. Obviously, I have no idea if this would work in practice. I don't know how this is. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just hilarious. And this is a really cool illustration of the current exploit that we have in the game, which I hope they kind of bring back just so we can build things like this, because obviously this is probably not so much a legit build. Could be, doesn't look like it at first glance, but just look at all the stuff on it. It's crazy. But what will be the most fascinating thing about this is how do you do the internals on a pyramid build? Oh yeah, you can clearly see there's exploits left, right, and center. But again, this is what's cool about builds like this, is it just breaks all the rules and you come up with some very unusual buildings and shapes, completely different from just getting the standard box. So props to Bread for this. You can't help but laugh when you see this. I'd love to see this in action, particularly what the hell are the 406 is going to do when they're trying to fire? Will it work? I don't know. The sheer amount of CWIS. Now, I wonder how potent this would be, because it's got so many CWIS. Can't remember how much damage the CWIS does, but if we add all these up, it's probably going to be quite a potent base, I imagine. And it would just look freaking cool. All of these firing all at once would be mental. And he's got multiple auto loaders on different levels. So how the hell does this internal system work? Let's have a look, because this is going to be one really interesting build in terms of the technicality of it and just breaking every single rule you could think of. But it's beautiful. Okay, so first off, look at this. So we've got some angled conveyor belts, which are interestingly, okay, so they just a bit confused here, because see how they are actually going into this direction, which I'm not sure why it's would do that. Hold on. Bit hard to like get a grasp on what's happening here. He's got his ammo makers at the top here. Comes on the conveyor belt, goes up the conveyor belt, which he's got multiple there to bridge the gap. And then it falls onto here, which, oh, hang on, doesn't fall onto here. What? Okay. Oh, okay. It made it way more confusing in that other mode. Okay. So it's actually all connected. Just looked strange because of the elevation. So just show you, we'll just zoom out just so we can get an idea again. Because when we're looking at it in this mode, it didn't make any sense, but now it makes a lot more sense. I don't know how I was looking at that before. In any case, we will have a look at this conveyor belt. So looks like it actually feeds all around it. And he's got the use of ramps. So the ramps are going to be able to elevate it to the 2 different levels by the looks of it. This is kind of intricate. What a build. What the hell? Goes up and it goes around, goes, yeah, up and down and all around. So I think he's pretty much probably copied that same kind of build on each of the levels where there is ammo needed. So let's go down. We'll go down deeper and just have a look. So let's go down to this one here. Oh man, he's done it. It's a pyramid, and this is the same thing. The ammo maker goes all the way around. What the? But look at this. Oh my god, look how much ammo makers he's got. How many has he got on here? Okay, it's not that many. I say that, but I have a ton. But pretty incredible. So he's only got 2 layers or 2 levels where he has ammo makers, but he's been able to get an extra reach by using ramps to increase the level and height. Really fascinating build, actually. It's a genius build. It honestly is, because it's perfectly covered in every kind of angle. Just a shame he couldn't put like hellfires or something all around it, but it just wouldn't look the same. Such a funky base, plenty of cargo drones and everything you kind of need. Getting to the core is what I'm kind of interested in now, because I'm guessing you just jump on everything and then come to the top here, and then you fall down. Even the core tower is quite well protected, and yeah, it looks like you do just sort of drop down into here, but we'll just follow it down and see if there is like anything more intricate than what we assume. Stairs go all the way down, and here we are on bottom floor on the core, and it doesn't look like there is any way in or out. Yeah, so it's just coming through the top by the looks. So you would just jump all over it and possibly fall down the top here. Still very easy access. Just about maneuvering up this would get quite easy, and plus with all the different ways you can get around in this game, it wouldn't make any difference. But super interesting build. Who would have thought you'd get a pyramid? Bases like this may get extinct in the future, but let's hope not. If I do get any footage of this from Bread, I'll just put it at the end of the video so you can see it in action. Same with any of the other bases. If I can find any footage of it, I'll chuck it on at the end. But there you have it, the pyramid build. Pretty much the only pyramid build we'll probably ever see. Let's go to the next one. Now we're going to be moving away from the symmetrical, and this next build is from Cat Slave, and it is called the Lost Heterotopia. If I pronounce it, yeah, Heterotopia, I believe it is. So look at this. This is a very cool and unusual build. I really appreciate the builds like this because 1, they have a mech bay, but 2, it's not symmetrical. And builds like this give a bit more of a realistic kind of sort of building it as you're leveling up or going through the tours, and you end up with sort of a mishmash of a base perhaps. But in any case, it does just mix it up, and it's got a really interesting use of the space of where he's put certain things. He's got the 406s in random spots, which is really interesting to see, and he has a lot of them. So if we count all the 406s, we've got, I think, 8 406s on this base. The good thing is with this base is that his 406s are very high, and he's got a lot of them. You could do some serious damage with this build, and it's just got stuff all over the shop, but it's really intriguing. But we'll just quickly go around, and tons of these missile silos. This is a $2 million build as well, so definitely pack in a lot more power in terms of how much damage output it can do, and it's got a lot of these ranges, which is awesome. So many mechs, and it's going to be your classic ground levels are going to be your engine rooms. So very similar setup to a lot of bases where you have the very efficient layouts of the batteries, generators, etc. And he's got a lot of damage amplifiers as well. And it looks like his conveyor system is going to be all very much independent of each other. Not really any conveyor belt systems, more built it how he needed it for where it was. But a really interesting build. Another quick thing is he's got the use of the pillars here, which is really cool to see. And this is what I'll probably try implement in my next build, is perhaps building pillar base or like boosting the level like this. It does make for some really interesting and unusual shapes. And I'm guessing you'll be able to put some other turrets in here. Perhaps you could angle your auto loader vertical and get some turrets in here just to utilize this space a bit better. But a super fascinating base, and we'll keep moving on. And yeah, that one was by Cat Slave. So this next one is from FieserMoep, and we're heading back into the realms of the symmetrical with this quite expensive base. It's about $2 million, but it's very, very nicely symmetrical. It certainly packs a punch. It's got a lot of hellfires, lots of other of the Sea Whiz, tons of the missiles, which I'm not so sure. But again, this new update makes them better. 2 nukes, no mech bay, so definitely loses a lot of points. No mech bay, I'm sorry. But it looks like it's got a nice easy access straight through the guts as well with the door. Don't see too many builds like that anymore where you have access on the first level. So we'll just jump out and have a closer look to see how this is all put together. But it's a very, very nice looking base. At first glance, it doesn't look like any exploits have been used either, which is really nice to see in the sense that he won't have to make any changes when this new update comes. So we'll just get the X-ray mode on and we'll just scoot down. So he's got a nice multi-layered, very more intricate sort of build here. So you get direct access to the core, I'm guessing. Where is the core? Oh, so there's the core tower. So it looks like you can enter through here and it is going to be... Oh, okay. So he's got his like support room where everything is very nicely put. I mean, again, is this base looking familiar as well? But it's a very, very nicely well thought out base. So it covers all the different scenarios you could want and got a lot of damage multipliers, chews up lots of ammo, but he's got a highly efficient conveyor belt system which travels around the whole base by the looks of it, goes right around. And again, having that easy access to the support room, which by the looks of it will lead up to the core as well. If we just chuck this back, yeah, you see the stairs go up by the looks of it, up to the core. Very, very nice, well thought out. The engine room has a ton of batteries, and got the supply under it. He's got 400, nearly 500,000. Whoa, how many is that? That's a lot. Whoa, what the shit? Talk about material storage. Damn, I don't think there's any real need to have that much, right? You'd never ever need that much, other than if you need to do what I've done where you build stuff on top of them, but that's a lot. Gosh, shit. And you got tons of battery packs. So this is quite an expensive build. This is a 2 million build, which is going to pump out a lot of firepower. But again, a lot of that might even just go into material crates because there's so many. But it's a highly effective build. Really nice little touches here and there. It's got the nice wings of freedom. Fly drone here, which can be used. It doesn't look like it's going to be blocked by that. But a supreme, symmetrical, and awesome base. This is going to get you through anything you ever need. Could be a great choice to copy because it's just simple, easy to access the core. Only thing this base is missing is probably it will need more 406s is my guess, because I would build this. Perhaps you could build this at least maybe a couple layers higher. You'd lose its nice look, but maybe that's something you could do. Maybe even build above the core tower and then stretch out, create another level, put some more 406s on there. Because 2 in infinite mode late game, or like once you get into like a few of the waves, 2 probably ain't going to cut it. Even with the damage multipliers, because that's going to chew up a lot of ammo as well if they are hooked up to, yes, they're hooked up to a ton of damage amplifiers. So that's gonna, I don't know how he's gonna feed this beast. Let's have a look at how many shell makers he's got. If we have a look at the shell makers, oh okay, yeah, he's got a ton of shell makers. So that's how he's doing it, because this would chew. So that makes sense actually. Never mind, he's got so many damage amplifiers attached to his 406 that this is probably the equivalent to, say, I don't know, what would you say, maybe 4 or 6, or possibly maybe no more than 4, I reckon. So it's probably double what we'd see here, maybe a little bit more, but that kind of covers it actually. So really nice, well thought out base, very symmetrical, easy to use. Only thing it's missing is some mech bays, which is a bit unfortunate, but he's managed to squeeze in so much. Very, very nice base here. We'll keep going, we'll keep moving on. So we're going to mix it up. This is going to be one of the smaller builds, and this is submitted by Obi-Wun or One, and I think he's called it 9BU. And this is a really cool example of a much smaller, compact build, but using some very interesting geometry. As you can see, it's like looking very, very different. It's kind of a wild shape, but this is a perfect early game base potentially that you could use or import. Got a lot of defenses built up quite nicely, but it's also something that wouldn't take that far or that long to get your hands on, or get enough stuff to get all the bits you need to actually just import this and go with it. So we'll just have a quick look at it. It's a bit of a smaller base, so there won't be a great deal to the engine rooms, but can be quite a challenge just trying to fit all the bits and pieces you need to on a smaller base. As you get a bigger base, you have the luxury of just throwing stuff everywhere. But you can see here, if we just go down to the first level, we've got the material crates. He does have a few of the material storages. He's got some generators, and it's actually quite a potent little build for what it is. The value is only 150k. Woohoo! So supremely tiny build, but it packs a lot on there. Now this kind of looks like it does use that exploit perhaps. No, maybe it's not using any exploits, but it almost looks like it is somehow. But no, it's not. It's just using triangles. So he's just done a really good job at making a very unusual shape. Looks freaking cool. Like this is a nice looking base for what it is. Plenty of sea whiz. Now I'm guessing this would be completely fine, maybe up to maybe snow 3 or 4 maybe. I'm guessing it'd be pretty challenging beyond that, if not too challenging, because there's not a lot. It's got the 105 mils, which I think can do damage to your Chronos in snow, but it is a supreme little pocket rocket of a base. And he's got one mech here. I really like this. He's got his Guardian, his cargo drone. It's a really nice little base. I really like this. If I was going to go into and play a new game, this is one I might import early on, just so I can not muck around until I get all the stuff I need. But it's kind of got everything. Now, it does have a couple auto loaders as well, which probably won't be hooked up to the conveyor belts, which is what you'd expect. So you would be spending a lot of your time just manually feeding this, but you'd just be able to jump around to the different areas, which is predominantly just the front here. And then on the back, I don't think there is any. That's just more there for show, or because you are doing manually loading, you'd probably just jump around and feed some of these. We'll just take a quicker look down the bottom and just see if we've got, we'll just quickly check to see if there are any other auto loaders. Doesn't look like it, just looks like it's the 2. So a pretty early game base, but at the same time, he's got some battery packs. So it's kind of a mismatch of high tech or end game gear with some early stage stuff. Kind of an interesting base in that aspect, but something to consider. I really do like it. It's a very interesting shape. Bit of time put into this for sure, but we'll move on to the next one. But this next one is going to be the last one for this video, and it is done by Sunblade, and it is called the Fortress. And immediately, this is going to be one of the very, very few bases where you see that your control tower, command tower, whatever you want to call it, forgot what it's called, where this would actually be viable to use, because you have a really good range of visibility where you could control your whole base almost manually. I really like this because it's very rare you can sort of get a build working where you have such good visibility, but this is an absolutely crazy base. Let's have a look how much money is actually packed into this relatively, simple build in terms of how many levels and stuff it has. If we just exit this and have a look for the turret override, that's what I was thinking. So this is quite an expensive build. This is 2.5 mil. So there's a lot packed into this. And it's a very, very simple build in terms of it's just like layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many it is. But the amount of hellfires is mind-blowing. So I think it's like 26 hellfires in total, which is a ton. Only one 406, but it does have the damage multipliers by the looks of it. I'm guessing if we just go up, we should see some damage multipliers. But we can see behind the 406, we've got a nice little room here with all your little bits and pieces that you need. Okay, so it's actually got 2 feeding this. Interesting. Okay, so if we go down here, it is 3 ammo makers. Holy shit. Okay, so got quite a lot of shell producers. I still don't see the damage amplifiers. So perhaps they're not attached, or he hasn't got them yet. Oh no, hang on. There they are. Oh, right there. Okay, so he does have them. So he's got one. I mean, that's going to be, it's definitely its weak point. It's just having one cruiser cannon. Outside that, it's going to deal with pretty much anything else you could possibly throw at it besides some of the later infinity modes. I love how he's got so many mechs as well. He's really squeezed those on just on like the side here. Doesn't look like he's used any glitches either to build this. So it's a really nice straight build. Very clean and a simple, really, it's a simple design, but it's still would have taken freaking forever. Look at this conveyor belt system. What the hell? Okay, let's go down here. This looks a little bit different because okay. I didn't see it. I thought they were all just pointing that, like going straight, but we have the conveyor belts pushing all the ammo onto the edge, and it just goes right around. Like, that is very efficient. Gotta love those conveyor belts where it goes all the way around. We'll just see if we can see how many he's used. He's got a lot. It makes sense that he's got so many ammo makers and a ton of luring devices. Oh shit, he's got a lot of those, but it's going to be hard to feed this base. Like, I don't know how technically this is going to be so much feasible in your infinite mode, because they're just going to chew up so much ammo. You're not going to have enough material to feed it, not until much, much later on. So until we get introduced with some sort of toggle mode on these damage amplifiers, bases like this won't really work. Not very well unless you have a squad to kind of deal with the first few waves. It'd be quite hard to manage a base like this. But at the same time, saying that, once you do sort of get over that threshold of being able to actually feed some of these and get some excess ammo, this would be a beast. The damage output would be crazy. Not to mention all the different ranges that you've got. The good thing is that these ranges will be able to walk across the base here and get pretty much, I'm pretty sure they'll get ammo from these auto feeders, potentially. You could always just jump them onto the base and jump them off. But it's a really potent base. Like if you're looking for something that's really streamlined, not overly complex in terms of like how layered it is, even though this would have taken so much bloody time, it's just a simple but a highly effective build. The only thing I really don't like about builds like this is that they have no visibility. If you go into infinite mode, these guys have basically, you know, such a heavily reduced range. It kind of defeats the purpose of having Hellfires so low to the ground. I never really recommend it because they have a range of 10,000. When they're this low to the ground and you're in infinite mode, which what I presume a lot of these bases sort of end up being used for because you kind of finish everything else, this is what you'd be doing. But having the Hellfires so low to the ground, they're only going to be able to shoot all the enemies just popping over the mountain in the infinite mode. Whereas if you have them a couple layers higher, they'll be able to shoot much further back. Particularly in the front, that's the main place you'd want them to be able to reach, get that extra reach. And maybe these ones on level 2 would be sufficient. But outside that, like you can't get much more potent than having that many Hellfires. But of Supreme bases. But all these bases were phenomenal. So much time and effort goes into them. I should be doing another video on these builds hopefully very soon. I'm going to try cram them in because the next couple patches may deny us building these crazy designs that we've seen in some of the other earlier builds. But if you do want to submit your build, please email, send me a message on Discord, however you want to go about it. Just send me it in a notepad. That would be brilliant. But thanks very much. And if you got anything out of this, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks very much. Catch you next time. Peace.